The Brea Tar Pits are many things. One is that it is a field site where we have bubbling tar pits out in Hancock Park that's been preserving evidence of ancient life for the last 50,000 years here in Los Angeles. The other part of the La Brea Tar Pits is the museum here, where we're sitting and looking at the collection. And this is where visitors can come and see all of the amazing fossils that have been found here for over 100 years. This is a site that's completely unique. There's no other place like it in the world, where you can see these ancient Ice Age animals, saber-tooth cats, direwolves, mammoths and mastodons, American lions, and even camels. So you can imagine all this life lived here not all that long ago, right in the middle of the second largest city in the United States. It really tells the story of Los Angeles, the history of oil in Los Angeles, and the history of the oil that trapped all these organisms, giving Los Angeles a view into the past like no other city has.
Welcome to the excavation site. We're here at Project 23, specifically Box 2. This material, all these crates that you see around here on the north end of our excavation compound, occurred because in 2006 they built an underground parking structure, them being LACMA, our neighbor, the art museum that lives in Hancock Park. And whenever you dig a hole in this park, you're very likely to find fossils. We didn't know how many they were going to find. It's probably going to end up being something like 1 million. We're only halfway through the project, and it's taken us a couple decades almost.
So the La Brea Tar Pits are uniquely positioned in this part of Los Angeles, right over an oil field. But the oil field is about 1,000 feet below us. So this area has also a lot of geologic faulting. So there's cracks in the earth where that oil has been able to bubble up from deep below to the surface. And that happens just here uniquely in this part of Los Angeles. And so that's why we have all these animals trapped here and in great concentrations.
So they ended up generating 23 boxes or wooden crates. A tree moving company was hired to box up cubes of earth that were found underground that contain entire accumulations of deposits. So a deposit is oil seeping up to the surface thousands and thousands of years ago. And so the crude oil comes up to the surface, it kind of pancakes along the terrain, and we refer to them as seeps. And things are collected in them and preserved. This is a dire wolf skull right here. So this is the eye, this is the broken cheekbone, these are the teeth, this is the snout, this is the top of the skull, so it's upside down. This is where the brain would have been inside of that parietal bone right there. So this is a complete dire wolf skull that's probably about 40,000 years old. In this area of Los Angeles, these rocks are not old enough to have dinosaurs. That's why we don't find them here. What you find is mammoths, mastodons, saber-tooth cats, things that are from the Pleistocene. That's what we're essentially pretty much walking right on top of when we walk through this park. So usually the paleontologists will go and they'll find bones and they'll uncover them, measure them out, use whatever sort of documentation methods they seem fit, and then they'll use burlap and plaster and cover the remains, and then flip them over, cover the other side, and then truck them back to their museum to work inside the museum. But here, since we're a site-specific museum, we like to do things in situ original deposition, but salvage does need to happen because construction, it's an urban environment. So when that happens, they get the mitigation firm, the firm pulls it out in whatever method is best, and then they eventually bring it to us, and then we need to prepare it, excavate it out piece by piece, measure things out, and then as specimens are measured out, we send them to the lab, and the lab team works on doing detailed preparation and cleaning them completely, and sometimes they're fractured and broken, so they need to be glued back together and consolidated. And then once that process is completely finished, it goes to the collection manager who makes a final identification now that it's clean, and they can use reference material, and then it gets a catalog number, gets stored in a shelf, and then it essentially becomes a fossil library. Whenever you excavate here, you need definitely 3 things: a paleontologist, an archaeologist, and a Native American monitor. And so the monitors are on site during construction whenever large machines are excavating through the ground using bulldozers, backhoes, large excavators. And then whenever they come across something or come across area that might contain something, the monitors that work for the mitigation firm and company have the authority to stop the excavation in that area, investigate, and then if they need to do something like generate a large wooden box around a few thousand fossils, to remove it quickly and safely so that the excavation and progress of the whatever construction is going on can continue. So here we are at Pit 91. This is a historic and current excavation area. So originally it started back in 1915. So the historic excavations, scientific excavations that occurred here were done by what is now Berkeley, California Academy of Sciences, Occidental College, and the LA High School, which is just a mile down the road. And so those excavations happened between 1906 and 1912, but what happened in 1913 was historical societies of Los Angeles County came together and they built one large museum, and it was known as the Museum of History, Science, and Art. We know it today as the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County. And the Hancock family that owned this property, which is why we refer to it as Hancock Park, they said, you know, why don't we work with the new Los Angeles County, the museum that's here in Los Angeles, and let them excavate and build up their collections, and so more people of Los Angeles can see these fossils exhibited in a museum. And so we got exclusive rights between 1913 and 1915 to excavate as much as we wanted. We went a little crazy. We did 96 deposits by hand in 2 years. Some of them went 40 feet down, and they uncovered millions of fossils. And they spent years and years and years cleaning everything, identifying everything, cataloging everything, and putting it into the collection space at NHM.
So July 6th is the last day that you can come and see the museum as it is. We're closing July 7th for a 2-year renovation. And so while we're closed, there will be many ways to keep up with the progress of our reimagining process. You can visit our website at tarpits.org, reimagining. But we also will have activities going on at the Natural History Museum in Exposition Park, where we also have some fossils from the tar pits. So you'll be able to still see some of our fossils. If you have family that come to visit and you really want to show off some of these extraordinary fossils, you can see them there. We'll also have various programs for schools going on where we'll be going out to the schools. And we have a mobile museum also, which will keep people engaged. When the Samuel Ocean Global Center for Ice Age Research reopens, it's going to be just a fantastic building with a really fantastic architecture that complements the park. And we're going to have all new displays, which really tell the story of this 50,000-year history at La Brea, which isn't very well told in our current exhibits. We'll have a narrative that you'll walk through time and understand how things have changed. We'll also have the science more visible. We'll be able to have that open lab as it is now, but then a completely open collections. So the public will be able to view the millions of fossils that we have in our collection and also see people working on those fossils, people studying those fossils, so that the process will be much more transparent. And we hope that we end with a message of how important these ecosystems are and how important these ecosystems are to preserve in the future.